Hi everyone, welcome to our Women in Neuroscience UK launch event. My name's Arashi Vedia and I'm one of our virtual events officers, and I'm currently also a first year PhD student at the University of East Anglia. So thank you everyone for coming along, and we're really happy to say that we've got people signed up from not only all over the UK, but also outside of the UK. So it's great that we have an international audience. So we're really happy that all of you have come and joined our event. And we're really excited to tell you all about women in neuroscience and what we have planned for the upcoming year. So this isn't just an outline of our event. So we're going to start by introducing women in neuroscience. This will begin by a talk by our incredible founder, Lizzie English, which will be followed by the goals of our network, which I'll discuss. You'll also have an opportunity to meet members of our Women in Neuroscience subcommittee team. And this will be followed by a short introduction about our upcoming events. So this includes our Christmas event. Following this, we'll have a short break. And then we'll have a talk by our incredible advisor, Dr. Emmanuelle Vieira, who discuss her career as a female academic in neuroscience. You'll also have an opportunity to ask her any questions in the follow-up Q&A session. Our event will finish by a networking opportunity where we'll be in small groups, and you'll be able to meet other members and also committee members. So thank you so much for coming along, and we're really excited. We're really excited for you to hear all about our network. So I'm now going to hand it over to our incredible founder, Lizzie English, who's going to discuss why she started the network.
Thank you, Rishi. That was a great introduction. And thank you all so much for coming along. We were so impressed by the sign-up numbers, and it's great to have you all here. So yes, I'm going to tell you a little bit first about what Women in Neuroscience UK is and why I decided to found this. So as well as being a busy second year PhD student at Cambridge and also supervising undergrads as my part-time job, why did I think it was so important to add something else to my plate by setting up this network for women in neuroscience? So if I think back to October last year, I was starting my PhD. This was a time where pandemic restrictions were still in place and in-person socializing was, of course, very minimal. So it was quite a tricky start. And along with this, in Cambridge in particular, neuroscientists are spread across many different departments, and there happened to be very few in mine. And this made it very difficult for me to meet people with similar research interests. But not only this, I also wasn't really seeing many people who looked like me or had similar personalities to me when going into work every day. And as we all know, one of the reasons that we're here is that across most sciences, females are in the minority, and this is especially in the higher career positions. And on a more personal level with this, all four of my supervisors do happen to be male. And as supportive as they try to be, I'm going to be honest, I did struggle during some of the points during my first year of my PhD. I didn't feel like I fitted in completely well into the academic environment that I was in, or that I could completely be myself when I was at work. So around this time when I was starting my PhD, I had a look around online in case there were any networks that might allow me to meet other women in neuroscience in terms of a community and also research interests and networking. But I couldn't find anything that was either very active or that was UK based. And if you know me, you'll know that one of my common approaches to life is that when I see a gap, rather than accepting that something doesn't exist or waiting for someone else to do something about it, I always try to go ahead and fill the gap myself, for better or for worse. And from that, Women in Neuroscience UK was born. So to my knowledge, WIN UK is the first network that is specifically designed for female neuroscientists in the UK. Arushi, please could you change the slide? Thank you. And Arushi will tell you a little bit more about our specific goals later. But in general, I hope that through the actions of our network, we might be able to improve the access as well as the experiences of women and other diverse groups in neuroscience. But as well as this, I really want to boost our retention and success in this field, because as we know, it does remain to be a male dominant field, like many different sciences. So it was around February when I first designed the logo for Women in Neuroscience UK, and I published the website. I did make this from scratch, and I have no website building experience whatsoever, so do bear with us as we improve the website over time. I did set up the social media accounts as well, and started looking for some volunteers to join me in building this network from around April this year. And the response was greater than I ever could have imagined, to be honest. So I thought it was just me that was feeling this way. But it was, I suppose, in equal parts comforting and distressing that there were so many like-minded people out there going through similar struggles in their neuroscience journeys, at least in part due to gender biases within their environments. And I interviewed oh, sorry, have we lost volume? Can everyone still hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry. So yes, as I said, it was around April time when I began interviewing other female neuroscientists from across different career stages and across the UK. And I selected our initial Women in Neuroscience UK team in June. And since then, we've had even more interviews and the team is continuing to expand. So Arushi, please change the slide and I'll show you our volunteers. Fantastic. So, oh, there we go. So these are our volunteers, past and present. Our current team has around 30 team members, and as you can imagine, managing this many people on a volunteer basis can have its challenges, but really it is just so rewarding. I'm really lucky to have each and every one of these inspiring women on my team and providing their enthusiasm, their skills and their ideas to this network and this initiative. So I've highlighted our amazing hosts for today on the left side of the screen, and you'll meet them all later if you haven't already, as well as our fantastic speaker, Dr. Emmanuel. And along the top of the page, we have our representatives from the different sub-teams that are going to tell you a little bit about what they do within the network very shortly. And all of the other members as well, a lot of them are here today, so thank you for coming along. And I really do hope that by being part of Win UK and working on opportunities like this launch event, my team members are seeing benefits through their personal and scientific development. And of course, we hope that the activities that we're producing are going to benefit our network more widely as well. So hello to all of you who've joined today to learn a bit more about what Women in Neuroscience UK do, and we really hope to help you in the future. And you notice that I have put "and you" at the bottom of this slide, and this is because we're keen to have your inputs in our initiatives as well. We want to hear your opinions so that we can serve women in neuroscience in the best way that we can. So do look out for a feedback form that will be circulating later on in the chat, and I would really appreciate if you did have a look at this and you can let us know in this form what you want to see from us going forwards. Next slide, please, Arushi. It's coming. There we go. Wonderful. So you might ask, what have Women in Neuroscience UK been doing so far? We operate across multiple different platforms with each of the wonderful team members that I have contributing to different aspects of these things, and you'll hear more from them soon. I'm very excited for you to meet them. But I'll briefly just go over the different platforms that we have. So we have a website, as I've mentioned, and this is filled with all of our different resources, including our blogs, and we launched some new blogs today, so do have a look on the website and have a read of those if you're interested. And these blogs are about women in neuroscience, they're by women in neuroscience, and they're for women in neuroscience as well. So they're including advice, career stories, exciting research in the field, and you can also comment on these as well and get involved. And yes, Julia will tell you more about this later, so I won't give too many spoilers, but the blog is very exciting. And of course, we also have our events. You're at one of those today. And although this is a launch event, this is actually our third event.
First year PhD students.
Sorry. This is actually our third event, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later in terms of the previous events we've had in case you've missed these. So far they've all been virtual, but we'll definitely look into in-person things in future to try to connect our network in person. But we will continue with these virtual events because it is the most accessible way to bring together a large network of people. So lots of exciting things that Yin will be talking about for our future events as well. And of course, to stay in touch, we have our social media across multiple different channels. And you can also subscribe to our mailing list, which is featured on our website. And yeah, that's essentially it. Lots of different things going on, and hopefully you'll understand a bit more about this as we go through. So don't worry if it's a lot of information, we'll be going over it in more detail soon. And for now, I'm going to pass over back to Arushi to go through our goals in more detail. And yes, just wanted to say thank you, all of you, for coming along, and I do hope you enjoy this event. All right, Arushi.
Thank you. So I'm just going to highlight the three main goals of our network. So Women in Neuroscience UK aims to improve the equity of neuroscience careers. So we aim to do this through three main routes. So the main one is we want to connect with each other. We'd like to create a community particularly targeted for female neuroscientists. And we believe this is especially important in sharing resources with each other and collaborating. Like Lizzie mentioned earlier, we feel like there was a gap in the market, and definitely it's great that we have each other for support throughout our challenging time, whether people are undertaking PhDs, postdocs, or their professors. So it's great that we're an inclusive network and we're trying to help members at all career stages. We also want to act as an advocate. So as previously mentioned, scientific careers and particularly neuroscience careers are predominantly male dominated, and I feel like this is even more, and I feel like they're even more male dominated in more senior positions. When I was personally in my undergraduate study, I found it very difficult to find role models that looked like me, that were female, that were women of color. So I feel like this may discourage young researchers entering the field. So there are several reasons why women don't pursue long-term careers in neuroscience. So whether these are biases, microaggressions, or barriers which are routinely experienced, and these often discourage women from pursuing or staying in a neuroscience career. We want to basically act as an advocate. So we want our members to share if they've had any problems, and we want to act as a support system that can advise our members if they have faced any of these issues. We also want to ensure that our scientific community is more inclusive, and we really want to push to try and improve gender equity in neuroscience research. So this is relevant for in vivo research where we use mice models, and we want to increase the representation of female participants in this and also in clinical trials. We also would like to inspire members of our network. We believe that everyone, regardless of their background, should be encouraged to pursue a career in neuroscience. And we believe that we want to create an inclusive network where we have diversity, and we can act as role models for people who are in an early career stage. So from a personal perspective, I found it quite challenging to find resources following my master's and following my undergraduate degree about the reality of what a career in neuroscience would be like. I found it very difficult to actually gain research experience in neuroscience, And I feel like if I had a network such as Women in Neuroscience following my master's, it would have really helped me to establish myself and network with people like me who are at different career stages. So I feel like this is a great network for people who are in their people who are in their undergraduate degrees or even further on in their careers. So I'm really, really excited, and I feel privileged to be part of this network, and I'm really glad that all of you have come along today to hear about our network. Yeah. I'm now going to pass it on to members of our sub-team. So we've got a website team, a design team, a blog team, an events team, a social media team, and a secretary team. So I'm going to hand it over to Dwaynica, who's going to discuss our network, our website now. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Dwaynica and I'm the website officer. I am a second year PhD student at UCL in cognitive neuroscience, but specifically in the social neuroscience department. And I actually want to say that my supervisor is a woman and my lab mates are women as well. So that's like really great. So I thought I'd say that, there are labs out there as well that are actually quite representative, which is like really cool. But it's obviously an honor to be a part of this network and to help on the website side of this network. So as you can see, we do have a website, and if you haven't looked at our website already, you can scan the QR code that you can see on the screen, or you can follow us on social media and find our website in our bio, or you can type in the link directly into your browsers. And things to highlight about our website is that we have a blog page. As Lizzie was saying earlier, you can actually read some of the new blog posts that were posted today. You can see our events. So if you heard, as Lizzie said as well, we had previous events, you can look on our website and see those. Also, it's quite good to note that we have a forums page, so there are discussions that can occur on our website. And to do that, you actually have to create a login. And then as soon as you do that, once you're accepted, you'll basically get access to the forums page. And I had a quick look at it as well, and it looks quite easy to navigate and stuff like that. So I don't want to go into too much of all the different sections of our website, because you will hear from the different team members what are there. But I'll lastly say that you can actually look on the website and see the rest of our team, and you get to see like what institutions we're from, what our research interests are. So you can really get to know who women in neuroscience are around the UK so far. So yeah, thank you for coming to our event.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm just going to pass it on to Gemma, who's going to discuss the design of our website and logo.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Great, okay. I had a bit of a mishap with my microphone last week, so I've cleared that up. At least it's good. So hi everyone, good evening. My name is Gemma and I am the design coordinator for Women in Neuroscience UK. So I am a first year PhD student. I've just started in King's College London, and I joined the network a couple of months ago, and I was still living and working in Dublin at the time. So this has been a great, I guess, asset to have to move into working in research in the UK for a start, among other things. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do as the design coordinator. So you can see a picture of myself and of Sona, who has recently come on as a trial graphics coordinator, and she has designed the lovely graphic that's there in the middle of your screen. And then, yeah, so basically what I kind of do within Women in Neuroscience is I am responsible for overseeing the design elements of what you see on Twitter, on Instagram, and I have, with the help and coordination of other people, also come up with the color palette that you see on the right hand side. And although this looks like a combination of nice colors, there are kind of, I suppose, more thought processes and stuff that go on behind that. So you need a kind of dark color. Usually you're thinking for like font, you need a light color to have as like a background. And then we have some fun colors thrown in as well that all mix quite well together to create something that also is aesthetically pleasing. So as you can see with the graphic of myself and Sona as well, I'm also involved in designing the graphics for, as I said, what you see posted on the likes of Instagram. And again, the thought process goes into these as well. Every kind of post has to have obviously different content, different material. So you have to think about the best ways to lay them out. Things have to obviously be visible and, like, I suppose, display the information that you're looking for in particular. And then I was also involved as well in kind of updating some of the website. So again, color palettes and designs of where different elements go. Yeah, I think that's it. I suppose I just wanted to say as well that I thankfully had a lot of help and a lot of input recently as I've emigrated and been very short on time. So Abby, who I think you might be hearing from later, and Lizzie as well have both been helping me out very much so in that. And then just the last thing, we are always looking for people to contribute. These graphics normally aren't too labor intensive, but they do take time, and when you're very busy, they can be hard to get all in one go. So we are always looking for people who are willing to help out. Please feel free to reach out to Women in Neuroscience, reach out to us on the website, on Instagram. You can get me personally at Gem and STEM on Instagram. And we'd love to hear from you and have your designs be part of Women in Neuroscience too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to pass it on to Julia from the blog team.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I hope everyone can hear me. As Rishi just said, I'm Julia. I'm currently a first year PhD at Oxford. I'm doing a DTP, so I haven't yet chosen my projects, but I know they're going to be focusing on neuroscience, and I'm generally interested in like memory, sleep, and cognitive neuroscience. And so I'm one of the 3 blog editors, as you can see up on the screen. We have Eiley, who's our overall blog coordinator and the blog editor for the reality section. I'm the blog editor for the research section. And then there's also Sari, who's for the review section. We also have 2 resident blog writers, Lauren and Rebecca. So they're basically people who write articles for our blog on a regular basis. But I will elaborate in a second about how you can also join our writing team. So basically our blog is divided into 3 subsections, 3 themes: reality, research, and review. An example of each type of article is already up on the website as of today. So you can go and have a look if you're interested. And just in terms of a quick summary of what these 3 areas include. So reality, that's basically just like the most casual area. It can either be things related to you, or maybe you've had an interview with someone, like a famous, not famous necessarily, to be honest, a woman in neuroscience. And basically you'd want to include some thoughts, experiences. So this would be things like a day in the life, or maybe an opinion piece, or an interview with an expert or someone you look up to. Then we have research. So that's my section. As the title suggests, it would basically be articles that kind of explain key facts, caveats, context of a recent piece of research, or potentially a more kind of review article, summarizing a general field, a direction that something is taking within neuroscience, kind of discussion on that. And then finally, we have reviews, which you could review anything from a book, an event, a podcast, anything really related vaguely to neuroscience, if you wanted to kind of write a review on that. So those are the 3 themes. And as I said, anyone can write for us. We're looking for more writers. We have our resident blog writers, but we'd love to have guest submissions. So basically, if you're a guest writer, this means that there's no full commitment. It just can be a one-off piece. You can write whenever you have time. You can write once, you can write 5 times, whatever suits you. There's many reasons where you might want to write for us, as shown on our graphic here. You might want to practice your communication skills, show your creativity, kind of inform others in the community. As the graphic also says, no experience is needed. If you're interested in writing for us, you can join our writers Slack page by emailing us on an email which we'll put up later. We can add you to the Slack, and then on the Slack you can have access to this writer's guide, which essentially outlines more information, more requirements, and tips on how to get started and what to do. And on the Slack we'll also be regularly posting some writing ideas or prompts in case you're stuck for ideas and kind of want some more inspiration on what to write about. But of course, we also welcome your own ideas. So if you want to write about something, if you have any ideas, just drop us an email. with your pitch or idea, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And yeah, you can contact any of us really through I believe on the website there will be contact to us directly, or you can email this email, which is shown on the screen, with pictures, questions, requests to be added to the Slack, anything like that. And yeah, I hope you enjoy reading the new blogs we've been put up, and that as many of you will be able to contribute as possible.
Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Yin and Lizzie from our events team.
Amazing. Thanks, Arushi. I'm back again. Well done to everyone who spoke so far. It's so nice to hear from you. I'm like a proud mother. It's amazing. Anyway, the events team. So I'm talking, wait, sorry, Arushi. Yeah, I want to introduce you all first. So Arushi, you've already met. Shloka, you'll meet very soon. She'll be hosting Emmanuel's talk, and Yin will be following up from me with our future events. Medina will be leading our final session on networking, and we've also had help from Serjan as well this month and going forwards in terms of international related events things, which is very cool. Next slide, please. So in terms of our previous events, this is what I'm tasked with talking about, as I suppose a lot of these happened before our team was properly put together. So our very first event was in April this year, and it was in collaboration with the wonderful people at the British Neuroscience Association. And I proposed, organised and chaired this session far before I'd gotten the Win UK team together. So it was solely organised by me, and of course quite a big undertaking and a big event to kind of kick off Women in Neuroscience UK. But luckily it went really well. And for the panelists for this session, I chose to invite women in neuroscience who had inspired me from a variety of backgrounds, topics, career stages and locations across the UK. And I was really pleased when they accepted my invitations. During this, they briefly talk through their career progression and current work before we joined together in an informal panel discussion session on the challenges that face women in neuroscience and how these could be tackled in the future. This was a very insightful session for me, and we had some great audience questions as well. This was my first ever time chairing a session, but luckily it went well. I got so many compliments, which was very kind and a big relief. And in terms of how the event went, there did seem to be lots of actual real progress in terms of the audience members as well. We had a diverse range of genders and ages attending, and several people, we did an initial poll at the start of the session to try to gauge the audience's opinions on things. And quite a few people interestingly put that they'd never noticed gender bias in neuroscience before. And I really do think that throughout this session, we might have changed some people's mindsets and kind of informed them about experiences that they maybe didn't realize that people were having. And I do think that opening the floor up, having conversations about gender disparities in our research culture in these kind of informal settings with diverse ranges of people, not just between women, but between other people as well. I think that's really, really important for driving change. And it's definitely something that I'm keen for Women in Neuroscience UK to instigate more of in the future with future events. So if you did miss this one and would like to catch up on it and watch my first chairing experience, do head over to the British Neuroscience Association's YouTube channel and give it a watch. I hope you enjoy. And our second event, Arushi, if you could change the slide, that would be great. Amazing. Our second event was in July this year, and this time, so we'd gone from national as the first event, which was already a big step. This time we went international. So yeah, I don't do things in halves. But we were invited by the International Centre for Neuroscience Research in Georgia to host a 90-minute session at the Women in Neuroscience Symposium. And by this point, I did have a team behind me. So with the help of my events team, at the time, this was Monique, Arushi and Shloka. I organised and chaired this session with the help of Shloka co-hosting, and she did a fantastic job. This was her first time hosting a session, so I was really pleased for her with that. And the session we chose to arrange was entitled Gender Disparities Across Neurological Conditions. And during this session, I was really keen to explore, as well as the depth of gender differences in neuroscience, also the breadth of these disparities. So we spanned different conditions from neurodevelopment to neurodegeneration, and also looking from diagnosis to within the research cultures themselves as well that investigate these conditions. So lots of different levels of bias, which is, yeah, concerning, but good to talk about. Otherwise change won't happen. So we had 4 amazing speakers for this session. We covered autism, we covered concussions, and we covered dementia. And if you did miss this session as well, this is actually on our own YouTube channel. So we have our own YouTube channel now. So if you head over there, you'll be able to see a recording of this session to watch it back. And that's all on our previous events. As I say, this one is our 3rd event. So this is our current event, very exciting. And we also have events planned for the future. So I'm going to now pass over to Yin, one of our new events officers, to discuss one of our exciting upcoming events with you.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. So hi everyone, I'm Yin and I'm a 2nd-year PhD student studying neuroscience at Cambridge. So I believe all of you would be very interested in hearing about what exciting events are coming up. So here comes our first exciting December event right before Christmas, and it is going to take place on the 14th December, 7 to 8 p.m. UK time on Zoom as this time. And the sign-up form is on this link, and also I made a QR code where you can just scan and register for the event. So for the event, it will start with 2 quizzes, one related to Christmas and the other related is like neuroscience themed. This will be followed by a talk and question answer session from our invited speaker, which we will announce later. And at the end of this event, we will have our networking session where you would have the opportunity to ask more questions as well as chat freely with our speaker and other participants in the event. At the end, we will conclude the event with the prize distribution for the quizzes, and the winners for the quiz will have the chance to get free mentoring session with our founder Lizzie, and writing workshop with our blog coordinator, Ali, and science social media training with our social media coordinator, Abnaya. Rishi, do you mind change the slide? Yeah, thank you. And we are also contributing to the fundraising to the National Autistic Charity with a suggested donation of £2 for this event. So if you are happy to support the charity, there is also another like purple QR code here where you can scan and go to the page. And Rishi, could you change the slide? Thank you. And looking forward for next year, so in the coming year, we are planning to organize the monthly talks from women in the network. And it's likely to be like 60 to 90 minutes in total, including like talks from 2 to 3 speakers, together with question and answer sessions as well. And at the end of each event, you will also have the chance to network and discuss with our invited speakers and participants in the event. And for the topics or themes to be covered, we plan to cover this following 3 themes: research, where the speakers will give a presentation on their current and the latest research projects; reality, where the invited speakers will talk about their life as a female researcher or like other science or neuroscience related positions in industry or in charity, as well as their opinions and advice at different stages of their career. And also lastly, most importantly, network, where we could also organize a coffee catch-up session with like breakout rooms where we can just talk freely with each other on different topics. So please watch out for our emails and sign up forms nearer the time and do not miss them. And also here is our event team email address. So feel free to drop us an email if you would like to get in touch, for example, to suggest events you would like to see in the future, or just to give a presentation as a speaker, or to ask any questions you have about upcoming or past events. And thank you very much. That's all for the event subgroup. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Abby, who's going to discuss our social media team.
Thanks, Arushi. So as Arushi said, my name is Abby, and I'm the social media coordinator at WIN UK. And I'm a second year PhD student at the University of Cambridge. So I have recently started working with a wonderful team of talented individuals who have helped promote the launch event at our social media platforms. So I am joined by Rachel, who is our Instagram admin, Kim, who is our Twitter admin, Ellie, who is our video creator and TikTok admin, and Emily, who is the LinkedIn admin. So the main goal of the social media team within WIN UK is first and foremost to prevent our events, forums, blog posts written by our writers, and any interesting topics related to neuroscience and any challenges faced by individuals who identify as females within the field. So I am very much looking forward to working with the team on interesting projects in the near future, which brings me to our social media platforms. If you want to stay in touch and keep updated with anything we work on, please do follow us on our social media platforms. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Jada, who's going to discuss the role of the secretaries.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jada, and I work as a research assistant at the Gordon Institute here in Cambridge. Within the Women in Neuroscience team, I'm the secretary and the newsletter director. And you can see a picture of myself here and the amazing women that I have the pleasure to work with. So the role of the secretary team is to support our teams and make sure everything runs smoothly. And if you have any questions or you want further information about the Women in Neuroscience UK, please feel free to email the email address on this slide. And as a newsletter director, I just want to stress out the next newsletter that's going to come out on the 1st of December, where we're going to discuss all the recent discoveries in the neuroscience field, but also the latest events of the team. And thank you.
I'm Shloka, a current clinical placement student at University of Melbourne and a third-year undergraduate student at Cardiff University. And it is my absolute pleasure to be introducing Dr. Emmanuel Virey today. Dr. Virey is an associate professor at University College London. Her research focuses on studying gene expression in disease and rare form of neurodegenerative disorders. She takes a very keen interest in mentoring and championing practices in science publishing. Last but not the least, she is also an advisor to Women in Neuroscience UK. Today, she is here to speak about her journey as a female academic. Without any further ado, over to you, Dr. Virey.
Oh, thank you so much, Shloka. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm absolutely delighted to be here tonight. It's truly an honor to join you all on such a fantastic initiative. So I've sent my slides. I have a few disclaimers, and I think number 2 is very much important for you, Shloka. I will talk for too long, so you will have to really tell me to stop. I guess it's because I'm quite passionate about, as we've discussed, mentoring and career advice. Another disclaimer is that I'm a terrible optimist. And so I think retrospectively, I tend to always have a positive outlook on things, even though, and I think it's important to say, when I am in the moment, sometimes it feels like super negative. You can ask all my friends and my family about that. I can be sometimes the worst pessimist, but I think globally, I would still see myself as an optimist. And then I think something that might be relevant to tonight's talk as well is the fact that I have a terrible imposter syndrome. I guess this resonates with quite a few of us on the call. And if anything, I think that would be one of my take-home message, and is the fact that what you see may not really be what happens in the individual's life. And I think we all have to take that into account. And so you said, oh, Emmanuel is an associate professor, and I still have to pinch myself and say, me? Because I still don't think I deserve that. So yeah. And then yeah, another thing, I wasn't a neuroscientist until 2015. We're going to see about that. And then I think something else to say is that, you know, I'm coming from, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I'd like to say that I'm coming from a good background. You know, my parents were teachers and we had a roof above our head. I grew up, I think we can move to the next slide. I grew up in Brussels, in Belgium, which is, you know, a very well developed country. I had access to free education, all of that, free healthcare, you know, and I think I I had an easy road, and even with an easy road, nothing was always easy. So, full transparency, indeed, I was born in 1979. Please don't count how long that's been. And then I did a lot of things in Brussels. I grew up there. I started uni there. I also bizarrely started uni in piano at the same time as uni in biology. There was a slight delay, so I started in piano and then in biology. And I think, again, it's important to say that I could do both of these things, first because education was for free, but also because I was still living with my parents. They would cook my meals, and to a certain extent, and you know, all of that. Like, I was home. That makes everything easy. I didn't have to expatriate myself to go and study. And then eventually, after obtaining my PhD in piano, I then focused on my PhD in science. All of that is in that wonderful Université Libre de Bruxelles, which is in Brussels, to which I think I owe a lot. And then I decided to move to Cambridge at the Goethe Institute as a postdoc. We're going to go through all these life choices. And then I stayed there for what was supposed to be a short postdoc. And I stayed there for a long time, 7 years. After which, in 2015, I joined University College London, where I am still working. That was a big change in subject for career. We'll see that in a moment. And I first joined as an investigator scientist, and then was promoted in the summer of 2021 to associate professor. One more thing, which is not I don't know, which is not a slight detail. In 2019, I also became a mum for the first time. And that was a big life event, which I think has had an impact on my career. And we're talking career, and I think you've got now that I'm quite transparent about all these things. And so I'd like to illustrate what becoming a mum also did to my career. Next slide, please. Let's go into meat of things. So, PhD. Ignorance is bliss, and I really think so. I never thought I was a woman in science. I just thought I was a scientist, or trying to be one, doing my very best to become the very best possible version of a scientist. I initially only wanted to do a PhD in virology, and then we can go into the details of all of that, but I'm very conscious about time. But so eventually I started studying epigenetics. It is something that I really really am passionate about, and I still do, even though I've changed subject, what epigenetic is in different domains, but it's still epigenetics. I got fellowship to support my PhD. Um, for me, it was fun. It wasn't work. It was just fun. I was living my passion. I just wanted to know more about science, and I was really enjoying spending crazy hours in the lab and sharing my passion with other weirdos just like me. Um, so great. Um, Needless to say that I actually pushed myself a little bit too hard. So I think that was my personal encounter, and not many people know that, with serious mental health issue at the time. I really, really hit the wall at super hard speed. And I've learned a lot from that experience. It still didn't change my ability to somehow deliver. Weird echo somewhere. Um, and yeah, I was actually very, I was very successful in the end. Um, and as I said, so two things here. The first thing to say is that I didn't know I was a woman in science. I've said that. And I think part of the reason for that, putting these slides together made me really reflect. Um, I, I think it's partially because I was raised in a family where gender was never discussed in a positive way. So I have a brother, I also have a sister, and we were all completely equal. I could lift as heavy boxes as my brother or my sister. I could kick the ball as badly as my brother and my sister. And so gender was not an issue, not in the family, and actually not in the society where I grew up, not at uni. My lecturers were equally male and female, or I the group leaders or PIs at the institute were like all genders. So for me, it was just as I said, trying to just be a good scientist. It was never about being something or not something. Um, I guess that's changed since. Um, and that's why I said, no, I know. But yeah, all things considered, I think I was not made aware of that until quite a little later. And the next slide, please. I was incredibly successful in my PhD. In 2006, I became the first author of a Nature paper, which I think, and I'd be happy to answer questions about that, I think was a very double-edged sword in many different ways. And then when I was writing my thesis, I then started wondering what to do next. Now, let me tell you one thing, I was absolutely lost. Career advice was inexistent. Mentoring didn't exist. I only had one person to turn to. It was either mom or my supervisor. Thankfully, it wasn't the same person. Yeah, and so both of them had very profound views on what I should be doing with my life. Um, so that's why I'm saying the world is your oyster, but it wasn't really my oyster. It was their vision of me oyster world, if you see what I mean. And so I think I was already quite keen to see what other routes than academia were there for me. And so I applied to a lot of different things. I applied to industry, I applied in consulting, and I applied in academia too. I applied to 10 different labs, all were spontaneous. There was no advertising for a postdoc position. So this, I think, is an important message. When you've identified a lab in which you think you could work, there is no problem at all sending just a spontaneous email saying, look, I'm really interested in your work. This is me. Do you think we can make it fit? So that's what I did. I did it in 10 labs. I was interviewed in most of them, and I was offered a place after each interview, which made the choice even more difficult. I was also, by the way, interviewed in consulting and in consultancy, a big consultancy firm. I passed all the interview and all the selection, and then they offered me the job. And I will always remember that difficult conversation on the phone. And I said, you know, I don't think this is going to work. And they've made a point, a very important point at each step of the selection to say, look, this is for us to meet you and for you to meet us. And I really think this is what an interview is about. And I still use that sentence because at the end of the day, you want to find a match. And for me, even though I was successful in getting a job offer from that company, it had become very clear that I didn't see myself going in there at that time. And I didn't want to be doing that. And so I think that sentence of it's you meeting them and them meeting you, and it has to be a match, that is very true. And sometimes, sadly, we get desperate. We want something. We think this is going to be the answer to everything. We think that it's going to be the grass is going to be greener in the next step. And we forget to think, is this really going to fit me? You know, you want to wear high heels and you want to wear those very, very pink, sparkly shoes with high heels, and they look amazing, but they hurt so much. There is no way you're going to manage to spend the whole event in those shoes. And so at some point, you have to make peace with the fact that maybe the pain is not worth wearing those shoes, or just slide the heel or reshape them to fit your needs. I think that's something quite important that I learned through that journey. And so in the end, the decision between which of these 10 different labs actually boiled down to one thing. Do I like the people, and do I like where the lab is? And this is still one of the big thing that drives me. And I know this is very personal, and this is in no means me judging people doing it differently. It's just that I know that for me, when I have a very bad day in the lab, when the grant is rejected, the experiment doesn't work, the boss is moody, or whatever it is, we all have a boss. Everyone has a boss, right? You need to be able to be surrounded by something that still, I think, this is again is only my opinion, but that still gets your heart kick or beat. And for me, it very much is a place, right? So I've always loved cities, and I think when I was in Cambridge, I loved it, and the fact that it was so close to London was even better. And I think that's been one of the driving force influencing, I think, my choices. And the other one, and probably even more important, is who is there with you. Do you think some of the people in the lab with you or in the next job, you'll be able to go for a coffee with them? Do you think you'll be able to go for a drink with them? Etc., etc. Because again, on a very, very bad day, if you find yourself in a different country where it's not your language, in a very terrible accommodation where you've compromised every single thing for the job, for the science, that is where I think when on a bad day can really be terribly hard. And so one of my advice is always unsolicited advice, by the way, because nobody has ever asked me to provide advice tonight, but here we go. I do it too. And so one of the things that I always advise people when they look for the next step is to consider what else is going to make their heart beat a little faster. Next slide, please. So postdoc, right, postdoc was just a dream life. No dependency. I was in Cambridge at the Goethe Institute. I worked with Tony Kouzouridis, who I still, is one of the best person on the planet, I think. I worked still on epigenetics. What did I do? I then started to look at the epigenetic regulation of gene expression, but much more in the context of non-coding RNA and still in cancer, which, by the way, that was exactly what I did during my PhD. So people said, after your PhD, you have to move country and change subject. So I was happy to compromise on the move country, but the change subject, there was no way. I was so passionate about epigenetics. in gene regulation in cancer that I did exactly the same thing. Well, not really, because I ended up working on non-coding RNA, and in an incredible environment. I was a total sponge, right? I went to talks, seminars, I talked to colleagues. Like really, there was no limit. It was permanent exposure. That can get a bit draining at some point. You know, you even go to a gym class, and the people in front of you, behind you, next to you are all PhD into something, right? Um, and yeah, so I had nothing else to do. That doesn't mean I didn't have a hobby. I had plenty of hobby, plenty of friends, plenty of everything. I was at the Gurdon Institute in 2012. Can't you hear me anymore? No? Sorry.
No, we can.
Okay,
That's
sorry.
perfectly fine.
When John Gurdon got the Nobel Prize, so that was quite a special event. And then I became an advisor for eLife. Through eLife, I was lucky enough to start an initiative that was to bring many scientists together from everywhere across the world. And so we started the ambassador program, which is still running, and so on and so forth. I did plenty of collaboration and plenty of projects and plenty of travel. And at that time, people were like, aren't you spreading your interests too much? Nothing is focused. What the is going on? And I would actually argue that I was in a luxury position where we had funding, we were in a rich lab, and I could do all of these things. It is true, most of them did not deliver for my academic career. But I actually think that retrospectively, I've learned so much through this experience. And I absolutely don't regret any single day I spent doing something else than my own project. I think I've learned so much about so many different topics. It was very, very, very valuable. Um, and I regret that sometimes in this career, we only focus on what's deliverable or output. I think sometimes having time to spend reading, thinking, sharing ideas, and brainstorming is essential, and doing project with others. Right. Now, what did I do next? So that was tricky. Okay. So from this wonderful honeymoon, 7 years, it's a long honeymoon. I think we can move to the next slide. Thank you. What did I do next? I had to then find a job. And that was tricky for me because I didn't think I had a very clear idea about what I could have done to set up my own lab. I, I actually think that one of the reasons for that was that I had not changed subject. So everything that I had in mind to start a new lab was very much overlapping with my current lab, which is never a good idea, especially if you want to stay in the same country for funding possibilities. That's where the imposter syndrome, I think, took an extra level. I really didn't think I had a good enough CV. I had massive doubts. I had a lot of career advice. Suddenly, Cambridge was fantastic for career advice, and I really can't acknowledge enough everyone at the Gurdon, everyone who was at the career service, etc., etc. But if you don't know yourself what you really want to do, no one is going to fix that for you. I knew I wanted to stay in academia. I applied for jobs. There was one in Paris. There was the epigenetic regulation of HIV. I got the job offer, and then I turned it down, having nothing else. One of, again, difficult position to be in. And one of the reasons for me turning it down is that I couldn't really see after the 3 initial years where the science would go and how stable that position would be. So I felt like it was a bit too risky to go into that. You can notice that it was Paris, again, that love for cities was still very much there. And then I found a job ad for where I'm currently. And they were looking for someone with strong epigenetic background, but not necessarily strong neuroscience background. So I applied, interviewed, got the job offer, and I took it. And I took it because I could see some strong future in there. So I'm still not fully independent, or not as independent as what my peers have. And I think peer pressure can play a dangerous role in this career. I love my job. I love what we're doing. And I think sometimes there is a bit too much ego. It doesn't matter what it says on the door of my office. Disclaimer, I don't have an office and there is no plaque on my door, but I still enjoy very much what we do. I still was promoted. I've got a fantastic support from my boss, and I think we work together very well. Also, fantastic support from all our funders. You know, AR UK has been fantastic in believing in us and believing that we can deliver the science that we propose to do. This is very trusty, thank you. So we work on diseases that are caused by prions, mainly on human samples. I have to liaise with clinicians, so it's a world apart from what I was doing before. There was a steep learning curve, and through that, I think I've gathered much more skills than where I was before. And you know, I think I don't know if it's cultural, if it's age related, if it's life position. I can't tell you, but I actually know that I am a woman in science. I think now timing wise, I think people talk a little bit more about gender. I think being a mum and now a single mum is really tough. And without the support of my team, my colleague, and the people that I work with, it would just be a total nightmare. So I think this has to be acknowledged too. In line with that, there is something that's not on the side, but that I really wanted to say is that there is never a good time. There is never a good time to look for jobs. It's never a good time to plan for a family. It's never a good time to send your application for something totally different. It's never a good time to put yourself out there and say, oh, I'm going to create a Women in Neuroscience network, right? There is never a good time. The, the good time, if there was a good time, then it would probably actually be a bad time. So basically, because there is never a good time, there is actually never a bad time. So one of my unsolicited advice is just do it, just try. You've got pretty much nothing to lose. There is all sorts of people saying, you know, oh, have a family when you're older, have a family when you're younger. All sorts of scenario happen, and everyone make it work with the right support. And in line with that, I think we are nothing gender irrelevant. We are nothing without the people we work with the friends we have. So I think that's my last slide. Hopefully my last slide. So next slide, please. We have to support each other. Oh yeah, I didn't know. So that's yeah, sorry. So everything that's gone well. So that's one of the things I was saying earlier. It looks fantastic, right? 9 papers in 7 years, plenty of small grants. 2 of my PhD was completed. Fantastic students around. It looks fantastic. The reality, guys, is just failure after failure after failure. I can't tell you how many papers were rejected, how many grants and fellowships were rejected, and it still hurt. It really hurt. Private life has been difficult. Supporting student is something that is not, it doesn't come to you, you know, yeah, you can apply the same recipe to everyone. Guess what? It doesn't work like that. So you have to fine tune your own supervision skills, which takes time and energy. Staff come and go, so you have to recruit and retrain, etc., etc. So it depends which lens you look through. I'm still an optimist, so everything is going well, and I love what we do, and I think it's the best job in the world where you paid to create and think and share. But it's tough, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It really is tough, and some days you just wonder why you do it. And you all dream, I think, some days that you'll open. Alors, there is different version: a bed and breakfast, a restaurant, a farm. Like we all have Plan B, and Plan B is always, it always comes up. Like when you grant or paper gets rejected, it's like that's it. I'm going to open my bed and breakfast, and that's it. And then the next day you're back at the bench because you love it so much. And my next slide, which hopefully is my last one, I told you I would speak for too long. Oh yeah, what I wish someone told me, and I actually I may print this and put it on the corner of my computer at work. So I think it's everything I've said already. So make friends. You don't need many friends. You need good friends that can also sometimes take you out of your crazy love for your bench work and take you out of it and take you, for a few hours away. Talk about your science to everyone, but also talk about what's going on. Um, I always say, not that I'm in the opposite role, the supervisor role. If people don't tell me what they need, I can't support their needs. Right? I can't read through their mind. So sometimes I think it really helps to say, look, what I need here is this, or what I want is that, or this I really don't want. I think it makes communication much easier if you can frame your own, and you shouldn't be ashamed to say these things. And if you are ashamed, then maybe the the pairing between you and your supervisor and you and your colleague is not completely ideal. Listen to talks, to seminars, to podcasts, to everything. All this information, I believe, gets stored somewhere, and you're just gathering a lot of info that one day will be super useful. Trust your gut feeling and train your gut feeling. That's very important, at least to me. As I said, everything in this talk is very personal. Um, and yeah, and then timing, as I said, is never right. Now, next slide, which I promise, no, I think is my last one. Told you it would be too long. Yes, I'm a disco ball. What was I thinking when I put my slide together? Um, I'm the summary of, so every little sparkly corner on the disco ball is an experience. And I'm grateful for the good ones and the bad ones because they've made me that unique disco ball. So whether you like it me or not, it doesn't actually matter. You also are a disco ball, and we all are disco balls in the making. And I think we should value that in each other. Never assume that because you see one side of something, everything else is that shiny, everything else is that going well, everything else is like, oh, she's lucky, she's white and she grew up in a fantastic family in Brussels. That's very true. That doesn't mean I didn't have my own struggles. And without everyone that I've worked with, and have chosen me to work with me, students, master students, everyone, they've made my research possible and they've made my career possible. And I'm forever grateful for all these interactions and all these experiences. Thank you so much for all of this. And I hope I made some sort of sense with my strong French accent. 15 years in the UK, and yet not a well pronounced word.
Oh, it was wonderful to hear about your journey. I'm pretty sure, just like myself, the audience thoroughly appreciates your honesty. There was so much inspiration packed in those 15 minutes. And personally, I love the pink heels analogy. Moving on to a short Q&A session, I'm aware that we're running short in time, so I'm going to encourage only one audience question, and maybe you can email Dr. Emmanuel Ray in your own time, if that's okay. Yeah. While we're waiting for the audience question, my question to you would be, what are the key differences that you hope to see in your field in the next 10 years, and how do you think that these might be achieved?
In terms of career or in terms of science?
In both terms.
Look, I'm coming from the cancer field, which I think has many years of advancement compared to the neurodegeneration field or dementia field for many different reasons. One of them is funding. So I hope we get more funding. Another one is the fact that there is a much greater level of understanding from the clinicians and the biologists about the need for each other to really work together. I love working with clinicians, but sometimes it's really tricky to get them to understand that things are not good as they are, right? And it's not a personal attack, but we have to improve the way we do things. We have to get to the level of knowledge that we have about cancer if we want to achieve what we do in cancer. Some cancer, we can treat them. Some cancer, we still gain 5 years of survival. Can you offer that to a dementia patient? No, yet you can't. So we have a lot of work to do. And part of that work is a better interdisciplinary research between clinicians and non-clinician work. And I think there is a lot of work to do there, especially because at the moment we still rely on samples to do most of the work that we do. And that's particularly true for us in the prion field. Another thing is to have more role models. It's still too rare to have an inspirational speaker that does great science, that is also regarded as a nice individual. It's too easy to label a successful woman a bitch. Sorry, I hope I'm not offending anyone. But when a successful male is successful or a bit moody, they're just a bit moody. And when a woman is a bit moody, then all the names called. So I think more role models and more support for re-entry or different flexibility of career path. We have to get, we're losing talent because the career path is not inclusive enough. People can come and go. I think more linked with the industry. People can spend 2 years in industry, then decide they want to go back to academia, etc., etc. So I'd say in a nutshell, those are my hopes. There are many more. Things are changing, and I have to say that, compared to 10, 5, 15 years ago, things are very much changing. I have great hopes. What kind of advice would you give to let her voice heard? Just speak. Just don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. There are a lot of very interesting research that shows that actually one of the reasons women don't publish as well as men is because they don't speak hard enough when they say, no, this is my project and we're going to go and, just speak. Worst case scenario, yeah, people think we're a bit dumb, and so what, right? And most of the time, if you speak up, people say, I can speak up to them, right? It's contagious in the best possible way. And so again, I think it's that role modeling. But yeah, things have to change. And, in society, I'm raising a young, very young little lady. And I hope that when she gets to choosing a career, things will be a bit easier. Yeah, I hope so.
Thank you very much. Those were very well-rounded answers. I'm pretty sure it's left everyone with a little food for thought. And on behalf of the team, I would like to extend a massive thank you to you. And it goes without saying that you're an absolute asset to this network, and we are incredibly grateful to have you.
It's the other way around. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Over
and
to
please send your questions by email. I'll address every single one of them because I spoke for too long. So please send your email.
So our email is over here if anyone has any questions that they want to submit by email, or they can ask them now. But the floor is now open to all the questions you have. The chat box is open, of course. Feel free to unmute or raise your hands. Yeah, fire away. If no one has any questions as well, that's fine. If they come up or you remember anything, just email them through.
Maybe just a comment. So it's very impressive what kind of effort and work you put inside this very, very great, can I say organization to it? It's really amazing. And thank you so much for the nice introduction and overview, and that we also got the chance to get to know each other.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet. It's lovely to see you here as well. Like, being able to see new faces is literally makes my day. Like, seeing all of you here is such a beautiful thing. Are there any other questions, comments, anything anyone has to say before I pass over to Lizzie?
It was just a wee comment. First of all, like, you've done so fantastically. You should be really proud. This is really great. I just we thought for the next time, if you can maybe enable captions. I don't need them myself, but I think for accessibility for other people, it might be useful.
That's an amazing point. Thank you so much. We will definitely take that on board. Thank you, Amy. Another thing I will mention on that note as well is that we've got, like I mentioned, the feedback form earlier. It is the slide after this, so feel free to leave any comments that you might remember or anything that comes up on the feedback form, so that we can like work together as a team to like be as accessible as possible to everyone. And I think I will pass over to Lizzie.
Great, amazing. I'm just copying the link again for the feedback form into the chat in case anybody missed it earlier, but we would love to hear any of your thoughts on there, what you thought of this event, what you would like to see from future events. We really do appreciate the feedback and want to work with you closely with our future events, future blogs, everything that we have going on. And yes, to be honest, my team have covered everything amazingly, and I don't have all that much left to say really, apart from these are the different ways that you can get in touch with us. Please do stay in touch. It's been wonderful to meet so many of you here in person, some of whom I've chatted to on social media, but I've never chatted to in face-to-face before, and hopefully in the future we'll have some in-person things going on as well. But yes, lots of things coming up for us in terms of virtual events in the diary. So there's the Christmas event. Do make sure you come along for that. It should be good fun. And of course, the blogs will be renewed every so often. We'll be having lots of content on there. So yeah, lots of exciting things. The main places to find us are our website, which has everything collectively on there together. So as Dwaynika explained earlier, you can scan the QR code on the left or follow the link at the top and find everything that we have on there. And also on the website, we haven't properly explained this yet, but you can sign up as a Win UK member. So it's got like a little login bar at the top of the website. And that allows you to have a profile on our members page. And also with that, you're able to comment on the blogs that we have, and you can chat on our web forums as well. So do make sure you make a little profile and get yourselves up on the website so you can interact with us fully. And also on the website, you can sign up for our mailing list. I presume most of you on this call will already be on there in order to have got to this event. But in case you haven't, it's on the bottom of our website and you just put your email in if you're happy for us to contact you about future events and things. Of course, if you enjoyed the event or have any comments, we'd love to see any tweets or things like that hashtagged with Women in Neuro, and we'll be reposting, retweeting some things like that. Anyway, yes, sorry, I shouldn't just say Twitter. We have lots of different social medias and my social media team is incredible. We've got Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, even YouTube. So do interact with us across all of the different platforms. That would be amazing. And there are, as I mentioned, the forums on the website. These are still quite new, but if you do want to put anything on there, within reason, obviously, but if you want to chat on there, you're more than welcome to. We have a few different groups. And apart from that, we have email addresses, of course. So you do get mailing lists through the secretary email. And there's a few things that come from events and blog emails as well, but they're more so you can contact us, to be honest. So if you have ideas for blogs that you would like to write, so you're more than welcome to submit blogs for our website if you email the blog team. If you have ideas for events or comments based on this that you couldn't fit into the feedback form, or if you think of them later and don't have the feedback form, for example, you can email our events team. And if you're not sure which of these categories your comments and thoughts go into, you can email me, the general womeninneuroscience.uk@gmail.com email, and I'll pick that up and I can always funnel it in the right direction, or I can reply to you directly. So in a more roundabout way, I guess I've covered the slide, but if you have questions, do let me know anytime. I'm around, whether that's in the chat now or if you want to email the Women in Neuroscience email later or contact us on social media. There's plenty of options for you to get in touch. And apart from that, I'll just remind you of the feedback form in case you haven't filled that in yet. We would love for you to do that. You can scan the QR code there or follow the link in the chat. And yes, the next thing upcoming is our Christmas event. So highly recommend you come along to that. There should be a Christmas quiz, which is great fun. And it'll be another way for you to get to meet more women in neuroscience in a relaxed setting. And as Yin explained earlier, next year we'll have more structured speaker type sessions, kind of like we did with Emmanuel earlier, but a bit more extensive. So yeah, that's the plan anyway. But as I say, input is always welcome. So if you have ideas as well, do get in touch with us and we'd be keen to hear from you. And that's it, I'm afraid. So I'm afraid, yeah, it's been a long evening. So thank you for bearing with us. I really appreciate all of you for coming along, chatting with us and getting involved. And I really do hope to see you in future via social media, via our events, anywhere around. We're very happy to have you and have you as part of this supportive network. It's, yeah, just so amazing to have you here. So thank you very much. If anybody wants to stay around to unmute, ask any questions or chat, feel free, but I will close up the Zoom in about 5 minutes. So yeah, that's it from me. A big thank you, of course, to my team. Thank you especially to Arushi, Shloka and Medina for hosting, and Emmanuel for the fantastic talk as well. And the rest of the team who are behind the scenes doing a lot of work in various different capacities as well. They've been amazing so far and I couldn't do this without them. So a big thank you to them. Okay, thanks all for coming and we'll see you soon.